Well, hello, my name's Treesap, and I'm here to talk about Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader. Now, I'm a fan of 40K, I'm a fan of CRPGs, so this was a must-play title for me, no matter who the developer was. But it is a cherry on top that it was Owlcat, a studio that made a game that I'd probably put in my top 20 in terms of my favorite games of all time, and that being Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous. And with the announcement of this game coming at the tail end of my playthrough of said Wrath of the Righteous, I was beyond excited, hungry to see what the studio would do with a universe that I'm pretty invested in. I think like a lot of people, my first introduction was a Space Marine game all those years back, and also watching videos by Luton and other creators, and that kind of got me into reading the books and also finally collecting miniatures. And I gotta tell you, I was not disappointed with this game. Playing it was a wonderful experience, and if it wasn't, man, that would have sucked because I was hyped out of my mind, which is something I try to avoid because I've been disappointed many times in the past, to a point where despite being a guy in his 20s, when it comes to video games and entertainment in general, I'm basically a grouchy old man who expects nothing, not even the bare minimum when it comes to a game. I basically expect a game company to pull down their pants and just piss in my face and laugh at me for even giving them money. That's basically what I expect. But with this title, I was expecting it to be good. I did something that I used to do a lot when I was a kid. I would go out and look for any shred of information, I would keep over every trailer. I would look for anyone who had even the smallest amount of news or insider knowledge about the game so I can learn a little bit more about it. And well, soon the time came where I was able to play this game and start my adventure in the Cronus Expanse and build my trade empire and do all the things my heart desired. Now, I didn't know a lot about rogue traders. I knew stuff about them. I knew the privileges they had, the wealth they had, and the fact they have a lot more freedom compared to a lot of people within the Imperium. But I was never super invested. So while I knew information about the world of 40K, it was really interesting to see kind of how a rogue trader went about things, and especially because they provide a very interesting perspective. Because of their freedom and the fact that they interact with a whole number of people, and they have the privilege and the ability to interact with individuals that the average person within the Imperium would probably be murdered for even being around. This means that we get to see different sides and elements of the world. Of course, we interact with Inquisitors, Space Marines, other rogue traders, but also we can interact with just random thugs on a planet, or we can interact with aliens, in whichever way we decide, whether that's actually talking to them or murdering them. The second one being the more common option for many. My rogue trader in particular liked aliens, liked Xenos and such. Didn't mind interacting with them, even being friends with them, letting them live, helping them out, as long as they didn't really get on his bad side. And my character would dabble in a little heresy here and there if need be, just to find something out that would help him or his friends. But for the most part, largely went with, okay, I gotta make money, I want to help people out in my trade empire, the planets I own, I want to see that they're doing well. And this kind of helps me transition into talking about the customization, because this game allows you to really craft a character from the very start of the game that really fits with the way you want to play. Whether it's a self-insert and you're kind of just going through it, trying to figure out, hey, how would I act and what would I kind of be like in this world? Or you just want to make something that just completely role-playing, making a brand new character who is nothing like you, maybe complete opposite. Maybe you're a pretty chill dude in real life, and this guy's just a raging asshole, ready to kill people at the slightest possible insult to their character, their pride, their friends, or just because they don't like them. And when it comes to the initial customization, you have, of course, your actual appearance. You have a lot of portraits to choose from, and when you actually choose a portrait, the character will match this, but of course you can actually customize other features on your model. I just went with one of the portraits that looked kind of cool to me, because my model for the most part was always covered in armor, so I'm not really looking at him, and plus I'm looking at him from literally the point of view of a fucking god, basically, so I'm not really getting to look at that face. But I also have appearance. You can choose, hey, what world are you from? Are you from a very nice world where people get to live pleasant lives and not have to worry about dying all the time? Or are you from just a horrible world, a literal death world, where every day was endless suffering? This choice impacts a lot of things. It impacts your stats, positive, negatives. It can give you certain abilities. It can even give you abilities not just from the beginning, but all the way through the progression of your character, at least until you unlock them all, really. And some of these can be pretty useful. And we're tied together to your origin, was basically, what were you before you were a rogue trader? Were you a sanctioned psyker, military officer, a noble? These also give you perks and special abilities, and in the case of the psyker, literal magic, they have your archetype, which is the main way you're going to be doing damage in a lot of cases. Not wholly, your other abilities will allow you to do stuff, but this is your basic class. You pick from a number of ones, and then as you progress, you get to unlock some more powerful classes, and then the final one is just Exemplar, which is basically a culmination of everything you've chosen up until this point, and you get that further in the game when you're at a way higher level. And you also have your accomplishments, your good and your bad, and these give you benefits along with some also detrimental effects, the same as with the other options you can choose when it comes to your home planet. And then, as shall be expected in a CRPG, you got your stats. You can allocate points where you want them to be and have things in a way that allows you to play the character you want. And of course, there will be skill checks throughout the game. And the choice you make early on with how you allocate your points will open or close some doors. Not completely, you can still roll for it. I don't know why I'm saying roll. It's basically roll. There's a chance it might succeed, a chance it might not. And you can see the likelihood of it actually being successful by the numbers next to the choice. And another option when it comes to how your character plays are their convictions. So your convictions are basically, it's kind of a moral compass, but not completely. And you're not really limited up until a certain point, because once you start acting a certain way for long enough, it's really just kind of becomes your ingrained personality, and you can't really go into the other convictions. There's 3 in total. Dogmatic, this is a person who's very loyal to the Emperor and very much all about following the imperial doctrines and laws and doing things by the book and doing things in a very righteous manner. And then we have heretical, which is you're diving into some stuff where you might end up either getting worshipped like a god, or you might be getting defiled by tentacle monsters. You never know. Iconoclast, the third and final one, is somewhere in the middle where you're kind of just, you make your decisions, sometimes based on purely how much money it'll make you, or for the good of the people, or different things like that. And these all, you gain points in each of these by the choices you make. And the further you progress through them, you'll unlock new choices that are only available to individuals who have a certain amount of points within each one of these convictions. Or specifically, I say within one of the convictions. There are no choices where, oh, I'm a little bit of this, I'm a little bit of that, I'm a little heretical, a little bit of a dogmatic individual, a little bit of a dogmatic iconoclast. It doesn't really work like that. Usually the choice just simply, are you one of these 3 to a certain level at which you can make this choice. Next, let's hop on over to the story, the dialogue, and the writing and such, which are pretty good. That's mostly what I'll say, because I don't really want to spoil anything, because it would really detract from your experience. Hopefully there are no spoilers on the screen right now. If you feel like they are, look away. But yeah, all that stuff's really good, and you hope so, because you're going to be reading a lot of stuff, and yeah, some of the stuff's going to be voiced, especially with companions or in very particular scenes where there's some extra added emotion because of the voice. But you'll be reading a lot of this stuff most of the time, and some people like that, some people don't. Some people prefer everything was voiced all the time, while some people prefer to just read it and kind of add on extra things. Of course, written word can express a lot of things, but when you're reading stuff, you usually add in your own emotions, your own feeling, your own interpretations to things. I like a mix of both. I like that in many cases when you're having these moments with your companions, you're talking to them one-on-one, you're able to get a lot of extra information, a lot of extra feeling through hearing their voice, how it sounds, and that adds something to it. And all the way throughout the story, both in the main stuff, the companion quests, some side things here and there, I was invested. I never read something like, oh god, it's so boring, it's terribly put together. No. All the way through, it was good, which I expected, because they haven't disappointed me so far. Wrath of the Righteous was well written. I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed all the things that came with that particular title. Now let's hop into some extra gameplay stuff. Not really extra, these are actually very important things. I don't know why I'm calling them just extra, like they're just tacked on. But combat feels alright. Sometimes it can get bogged down with just the mass quantity of enemies that you're going to be going up against. Sometimes it feels like you're waiting an eternity for the next turn, but that's not something that bothers me. Might bother you though. But hey, you can tweak options here and there in the settings, which I think is a good way of really getting this game to work well for you in a way that allows you to enjoy the things you want to enjoy. This game has wide varieties of settings in terms of difficulty and how you want to progress and do things. So utilize those at your own discretion to have the best time you can with this game. But even when it comes to combat, there are extra things to it, because you have combat where you're actually on foot, you know, using your character's abilities and powers and weapons, but also the ship combat, which I turned down to the easy setting. It's not as bad as some of the other extra things that you find within Owlcat's games, which surprised me given their last title. And also managing your empire, your trade empire, that section of it, it's also good. It's better than managing your crusade in Wrath of the Righteous, I would say that. A massive improvement. That just felt like something, hey, I could do this here or there, and I never felt like I was really blocked by really anything, by that management system or by space combat. Well, of course, because I turned it down in easiest mode, because it wasn't the main thing I was here for. But it was relatively fun. It was fun enough. And luckily, I would say everything comes together in this game. As a total package, it's really good. I don't feel like really anything's hanging off the sides, something that I think you should just like rip off from the game, specifically the developers should have just ripped off and thrown in the trash. No, everything's fine. And even things I don't like as much, they have options to tweak it, so I don't really have to worry much about it. I don't know really where to go from this point. I think I've really expressed everything I have to express about it, at least without going into such detail that would spoil the game, because this is something I don't really want to ruin anyone's experience, intentionally. I don't want to intentionally ruin anyone's experience with a game that I think you should go out and play, most definitely, and hopefully the DLC for this game is good, because there'll definitely be some, and hopefully it doesn't have some of the problems that Owlcat has had in the past with DLC. But so far, at least the progression of the games I played for them. So you have the first Pathfinder, you know, Kingmaker and such. Then you got Wrath of the Righteous, and then you got this. They seem to have been actually learning from their mistakes and the issues that other games had. So maybe they'll fix their DLC issues as well. Oh, maybe it's just some bugs. It was largely bug free, I'll say that. At least for me. I ran into some minor issues here and there, and there have been some patches so far that have fixed some things. So while things can perform differently on different machines, I think you should have a good time overall and not run into any issues. And I guess that's all. Thanks for listening to me ramble on for I don't know how long. If you enjoyed this video, check out some of my other stuff. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. And if you don't like this video, I guess you can dislike it, comment how terrible it is. Yeah, peace, I'm out.